Hello and welcome to the Vibe with Kai podcast. It's your boy Kai, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 things that parents should know about their teenagers' mental health. This is something that's been very much on my mind lately, and I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to go into detail about some of the things that I've discovered over the past, couple of weeks while doing some research on this. Before we get started, my friends, if you are interested in stuff like this, if you want a little bit more, if you want some exclusive stuff that I don't post anywhere else, then make sure you go subscribe to my Patreon. It's only $1 per month. And when you subscribe, you get access to a bunch of stuff that I don't post, including interviews that I do with mental health professionals. You're going to get some daily motivation, daily affirmation. You're going to get some behind the scenes looks at my life that you really are not going to see anywhere else, because it's like a safe space for me when I post on Patreon. So yeah, go make sure that you subscribe to my Patreon. The link is in the description of this podcast. So listen, my friends, I remember when I was a teenager. I remember it vividly. Much like any other teenager, I was moody and angsty, just like my friends. I was listening to an insane amount of Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit, I remember struggling mentally with so many things during those years, but at no point during my youth did I ever attribute that to poor mental health. It was like pure ignorance to the topic, if I'm being honest. But as I got older and I began to understand the importance of good mental health, I started to realize how much poor mental health had affected me when I was younger, and I didn't even realize it. As I continue to grow as a content creator on Instagram and on TikTok, my main demographic has become people who identify as female. 88%, to be exact, 88% of my audience on both Instagram and TikTok are people that identify as female. Many of those women are mothers to teenagers. And every day I hear their stories, every single day. And every day, many of those people that reach out to me, they express concerns that they have about their teens and their mental health. Now, once again, I am not a mental health professional. I use my platform to tell my mental health story and hopefully provide some insight via mental health professionals, to spread their insight, whatever it may be. So I try to do as much studying as possible, right? And I try to talk to as many people as possible so I can gather some insight here. So as I was doing this, I started to realize that teenagers today are struggling in silence, much like I was doing when I was younger. But luckily, in today's world, we're speaking more openly about mental health, and we're able to help more, and we're able to do more things. So I kind of compiled all of this research about mental health struggles amongst teenagers, and I found 5 things that I'd love to share with you all, for all the parents out there that are struggling with their teenagers' mental health. These are 5 things that I think parents should know about their teenagers' mental health. Just let me know what you think. Number 1, the most common mental health disorders among teens. According to Turnbridge, these are the 5 most common mental health disorders among teenagers. Number 1, anxiety disorders. Per Turnbridge, anxiety disorders are the most prevalent mental health disorder among adolescents today. The World Health Organization reports that 4% of 10 to 14-year-olds and 5% of 15 to 19-year-olds experienced an anxiety disorder. Most people develop symptoms of an anxiety disorder before the age of 21. Number 2, depression. Per Turnbridge, depression is the second most common mental health disorder in adolescents, affecting 3% of 15 to 19-year-olds globally. In the United States, however, approximately 13% of youth ages 12 to 17 suffered a major depressive episode in the year 2020. I'm sure you guys all remember what went down in 2020. 9% of youth in the United States, or 2.2 million people, young people, were coping with severe major depression in the year 2020. Number 3, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. ADHD is very common among adolescents and is typically identified early due to this condition's effect on learning and behavior. almost 9% of children ages 4 to 17 are estimated to be facing ADHD today. These children may have difficulty paying attention, they may become easily distracted, and exhibit hyperactivity and or impulsive behaviors. Number 4, eating disorders. Per Turnbridge, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, eating disorders are much more common during the teenage years and into one's early 20s. While girls and young women are more likely to struggle with an eating disorder, it's important to recognize that boys and men often go undiagnosed. And number 5, substance abuse disorders. Per Turnbridge, adolescence is a heightened period for risk-taking, and often that translates to teens trying drugs and alcohol for the first time. Unfortunately, however, this is not always a phase or experimentation. Many teens and young adults become addicted to these drugs and alcohol, and they develop substance abuse disorders. In the year 2020, over 4% of the youth in America reported having a substance use disorder. Now, leaving these mental health disorders that I just talked about untreated can be very dangerous for your teenager, both in the short term and in the long term. Number 2, one of the things that parents should know about their teenagers. Number 2, there are warning signs that you can look for. According to Paradigm Treatments, there are 10 warning signs of teenage mental illness that you can look for as a parent. These warning signs include feeling worried, sad, or angry, extreme mood changes, not caring about physical appearance, changing in eating or sleeping habits, change in school performance, isolation or loss of interest in activities, complaints of physical maladies, drug or alcohol use, trouble understanding reality, and talking about dying. If you believe your teenager may be engaging in any of the things above, taking the next step towards treatment might be a healthy move. Now, before we continue, I do want to talk about a wonderful organization called Link. Link is an organization that provides teens with digital mentors who are available 24/7, supporting your teenager with their everyday difficulties. If you're interested in learning more about this, please visit withlink.io. That is their website, withlink.io. I included this link in the description of this podcast. Go check it out. See if it's a good fit for your teen. And when you apply, let them know that I sent you. Let them know that Kai sent you. And it's really affordable, right? And even if it's not affordable, they do have financial aid for those that qualify. So go check it out, withlink.io. Number 3, things that parents should know about their teenagers' mental health. Number 3, you can call on your primary care doctors and pediatricians to make a change. It's very clear today that our young people are in a mental health crisis. Pediatricians and primary care doctors can and should be advocating for that change, right? Pediatricians have the unique and powerful chance to improve mental health among our youth. It's actually very surprising that these practices are not already in place for teenagers and pediatricians. Pediatricians are a trusted voice for parents and families when their child has a cough or a broken arm, and they should also be well-versed enough to spot potential signs of mental health struggles. Even though they may not be able to provide solutions right then and there themselves, they can and should be equipped with the tools, the training, and the resources to point teens and their parents in the right direction. Many pediatricians have already jumped onto this, but not nearly enough to curb this crisis among our young people. Number 4, things that parents should know about their teenagers' mental health. Number 4, what causes mental health struggles among our young people? There are a lot of things that come into play when it comes to the causes of teenage mental illness. Now, here are some potential causes that are highlighted by an organization called Sandstone Care, and I wanted to read some of these potential causes to you. Number 1, genetics and family members with mental health or substance use disorders. Number 2, early childhood trauma and abuse. Number 3, biological causes like chemical imbalances in the brain. Number 4, traumatic brain injury or TBI. Number 5, prenatal exposure to viruses or harmful chemicals like alcohol, nicotine, or drugs. Number 6, using drugs or alcohol. Number 7, serious medical issues like cancer and chronic pain. And number 8, isolation and loneliness. Now, obviously, prevention is key, but a lot of the things that I mentioned, they can't be necessarily prevented, right? Which is even more of a reason to keep a close eye on your teenager and get them the help that's needed before anything worsens. And number 5, as parents, educate yourself. Learning everything you can about mental illness is the first step towards providing effective assistance and guidance for your teenager. If you're not sure where to start, I recommend visiting, there's a website called Mental Health Literacy. I'm going to include that in the description of this podcast. Mental Health Literacy. They have a page for parents. Go check that out, right? Also, for the Link, the organization that I was talking about before, Link, that provides the digital mentors for your teenagers, they also have a parent content hub where they give a lot of really good information for parents on how to navigate the tough waters of being a parent of a teenager with mental health struggles. Okay, so what can you do as a parent, right? Ultimately, you must talk with your teenager about any concerns that you have and guide them towards getting professional help or external support. Keep your communication with your teenager open and pay close attention to their appearance and their behavior. This is vital. Now, if you or your teenager or someone you know is in crisis, call 911 or go to the nearest emergency room. For 24/7 crisis support, call 1-800-273-TALK. to reach a 24-hour crisis center. You can also text 741-741 to reach the crisis text line, or you can call 988 to reach the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Parents, there are options here for this journey. Parenting a child, a teenager, is one of the most difficult things that you could do. But we know that I know that you love them, you care for them, and you want to get them the help that they need, that they deserve. There are resources out there for you. And I'm sending nothing but love to you, your teenager, and your entire family. You can get through this. With that said, my friends, once again, today's podcast was brought to you by Link. Link Digital Mentors are your teens' link to their happiest and healthiest self. Their mission is to provide teens with a safe, no-judgment space to ensure that every teen has someone to turn to for support whenever they need. Link mentorship services are provided by certified mentors who are trained to offer digital, social, and emotional support. The services provided by Link are not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any mental health or medical conditions. Link mentorship is not a substitute for medical or mental health treatment provided by licensed professionals. If you're interested in learning more about what Link can do for your teenager, visit withlink.io, and learn how it can help you and your teen on their mental health journey. With that said, my friends, thank you so much for listening. I very much appreciate you. If you want more things like this, make sure you subscribe to my Patreon. It's only $1 per month, and you're going to get access to a bunch of exclusive mental health content that I don't post anywhere else, including a sneak peek at my life. Things that I don't post publicly. I post it in my safe space, which is on Patreon. So, with that said, my friends, as always, much love, good vibes, and I'll talk to you later.